All right, so welcome to Different World Deep Dive, and today we're going on a deep dive that is pretty interesting.
Yeah.
This is a big one. We're going to be talking about PepsiCo's acquisition of Siete Family Foods.
Huge.
To help us unpack all this, we're going to be looking at some insights from Brennan, a leading brand strategist, and he specializes in helping plant-based, ethical, eco-friendly brands grow.
Yeah, he's a big deal.
So it's fascinating because we're talking about Pepsi, known for their sugary drinks and snacks.
Right.
And now they own a brand built on wholesome ingredients and cultural authenticity. So the big question is, can a giant like PepsiCo really pivot to the health-conscious market?
It's a good question, and I think what makes this even more interesting is that Brennan himself has been vegan for 17 years and doesn't consume Pepsi products.
Yeah.
So this isn't just some theoretical analysis for him. This is something that really kind of hits home.
Exactly. Yeah, so let's get right into it. We've got this legacy brand, PepsiCo, acquiring Siete Family Foods, a rising star in the plant-based Latino food market. Why is this acquisition such a big deal?
Well, Brennan sees this as a really calculated maneuver by PepsiCo and something that aligns with their long-term strategic goals.
Okay.
Think back to when they acquired Gatorade.
Right.
They didn't invent it, they transformed it.
Yeah.
So Brennan believes that they're going for a similar trajectory with Siete.
Interesting.
They see plant-based market exploding, and they want in not by starting from scratch, but by acquiring a brand that's already resonating with consumers.
So is Brennan saying this is a genuine attempt to cater to these evolving consumer preferences?
Uh-huh.
Or is this just savvy marketing to capitalize on this health food trend?
Brennan is leaning towards genuine.
Okay.
He believes that PepsiCo is seeing the writing on the wall. Consumer preferences are shifting, especially with millennials and Gen Z.
Yeah.
They prioritize health, ethics, sustainability.
They're not just buying products, they're buying into values.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So PepsiCo's betting that by aligning themselves with a brand like Siete, they can tap into this growing market and sort of reshape their image a bit.
That makes sense. But it raises another question. Can PepsiCo, with their history of mass-produced kind of conventional products.
Yeah.
Can they genuinely reposition themselves as health conscious?
Right.
And without alienating Siete's loyal customer base?
Yeah.
I mean, those customers are drawn to Siete for their family-driven story, their commitment to clean ingredients, their cultural roots.
It's a huge challenge, and Brennan really highlights that.
Yeah.
He argues that for this acquisition to actually work, PepsiCo needs to go beyond just surface-level branding.
Okay.
They need to prove their commitment to Siete's existing values.
So it's about walking the walk, not just talking the talk.
Exactly. They can't just slap a new label on things and expect consumers to buy it.
Right.
They need to show that they understand and respect what makes Siete special.
It makes you wonder, can a corporation like PepsiCo truly embrace those values?
Yeah.
Or is this just a big company trying to buy credibility? What do you think?
It's a tough question, but I think to get a better answer, we need to look at the potential upsides.
Okay, so let's shift gears a little bit and talk about those upsides.
Yeah.
Brennan sees some real strategic opportunities for growth,
Oh, yeah.
both for PepsiCo and for Siete. So what kind of opportunities are we talking about here?
Well, for Siete, I think the most obvious benefit is access to PepsiCo's massive distribution network and their marketing power.
Makes sense.
Imagine Siete products being available everywhere.
Wow, yeah.
That's a game changer when we talk about reach.
Right.
Also, PepsiCo could invest in expanding Siete's product line, developing new plant-based and gluten-free offerings for a wider audience.
So this acquisition could benefit Siete, but could they do it and maintain the brand's integrity?
Brennan believes it's possible, and he points out that PepsiCo has a history of acquiring brands and allowing them to operate with some autonomy.
Right, like Quaker Oats and Tropicana.
Exactly. So if they can apply that same approach to Siete, giving them the freedom to stay true to their values while still leveraging those PepsiCo resources, it could be a win-win.
But it's a delicate balance.
Mm-hmm.
They need to find a way to amplify Siete's reach.
Yeah.
Without diluting what makes them special.
Absolutely. And this leads us to a crucial factor that Brennan emphasizes: sustainability.
Okay.
These days, it's not enough to just offer a great product.
Right.
Consumers, especially those who are attracted to brands like Siete, are discerning. They're looking at the whole picture, sourcing ingredients to packaging to distribution.
Yeah.
They want to support brands that are making a positive impact on the planet.
And this is where Brennan's expertise really comes in.
Yeah.
He spent years helping brands develop eco-friendly practices, sustainable packaging, ethical sourcing.
Uh-huh.
He gets it. He understands that For PepsiCo to really make it in this market,
Right.
they need to show a genuine commitment to sustainability.
And Brennan sees this acquisition as a potential turning point for PepsiCo. They have a chance to become a leader in the sustainable food movement, set a new standard for the industry, but they have to make some big changes.
This is what I find so fascinating about this whole thing. It's not just one company acquiring another.
Right.
It's about a potential shift in the whole food landscape.
Yeah.
We're seeing a growing demand for plant-based, ethical, sustainable options.
Right.
And this acquisition, it could be a sign of things to come.
It really could be. We're at a crossroads. Will big corporations rise to the occasion and embrace this new era of conscious consumerism?
Yeah.
Or will they cling to those outdated practices? The choices they make now will have a huge impact.
We're going to take a quick pause here, but we'll be right back to delve even deeper into this acquisition and what it all means for the future of food. Don't go anywhere.
So before the break, we were talking about this acquisition, potentially being this turning point for PepsiCo, pushing them towards a more wellness and eco-conscious identity.
Yeah.
But we can't forget they have a history of producing products that are...
Yeah, not exactly healthy. Yeah, it's a pretty stark contrast, isn't it? On the one hand, you have Pepsi, a brand known for sugary sodas, salty snacks.
Right.
And on the other hand, you have Siete, this company, all about wholesome, grain-free alternatives to, like, traditional Mexican-American food.
Yeah. How do those two worlds collide?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So how does Brennan see this? How does he see these two seemingly opposite worlds coming together?
Yeah, well, Brennan acknowledges this tension. PepsiCo is essentially trying to bridge this gap between two very different consumers.
Okay.
Their traditional audience, they're looking for indulgence, convenience, familiar flavors.
Right.
But Siete's customers are different. They're driven by health wellness.
Yeah.
A desire for those clean, natural ingredients.
Right. It's a tricky balance.
It is.
So how does a company like PepsiCo even begin to appeal to this health-conscious market? It's like they're starting from scratch.
Well, that's where acquiring Siete comes in.
Okay.
Brennan sees this as a strategic move to tap into an existing brand that already has that foothold in the health food space. Instead of starting from scratch, which could take years and tons of investment,
Yeah.
they're acquiring something that has a loyal following and that reputation for quality.
So it's almost like they're trying to buy their way into credibility.
It might seem that way, but Brennan believes it's more nuanced than that.
Okay.
He sees PepsiCo as recognizing the power of Siete's brand equity, and they want to use that to expand their own portfolio of healthier options.
Right.
They're betting that Siete's reputation will attract a new generation of consumers who are more conscious of their health and the impact of their food choices.
Okay. But it's going to take more than just putting the PepsiCo logo on a bag of Siete chips to win over skeptical consumers.
Definitely.
What concrete steps does Brennan think PepsiCo needs to take to show they're serious about this shift toward wellness?
Brennan highlights transparency and consistent action.
Okay.
He argues that PepsiCo needs to be upfront about their commitment to Siete's values and demonstrate that commitment through what they do, not just marketing campaigns.
Right.
Empty promises won't work here.
So what does that look like in practice? Give me some examples.
Well, for starters, PepsiCo needs to make sure that Siete's products keep those high standards of quality and ingredient integrity.
Yeah.
Consumers are watching to see if there are any changes to Siete's recipes or sourcing practices, once PepsiCo takes over.
Makes sense.
Any hint of compromise on quality or a shift to cheaper, less healthy ingredients, that's a red flag.
For sure. Yeah, consumers are looking for that consistency and authenticity, but transparency goes beyond ingredients.
Absolutely.
What about things like packaging and production?
You're right. Brennan emphasizes that PepsiCo needs to be transparent about the entire supply chain,
Okay.
from where they source ingredients to how it's manufactured and packaged.
Right.
Consumers want to know where their food comes from, how it's made. They want assurances that it's ethical and sustainable.
Think B Corp certification, Fair Trade, Rainforest Alliance.
Exactly. Those are the things that show a real commitment.
So, does Brennan believe that PepsiCo is capable of meeting these expectations because they don't have the best track record when it comes to things like environmental sustainability and ethical sourcing?
That's true. PepsiCo has faced criticism in the past for their environmental practices and their impact on communities.
Yeah.
But Brennan thinks this acquisition could be a catalyst for positive change within the company.
Okay.
He sees it as an opportunity for PepsiCo to step up and become a leader in the sustainable food movement.
That's a pretty optimistic view, considering PepsiCo's history. What makes him so hopeful?
I think Brennan acknowledges that PepsiCo has a lot of work to do to earn the trust of those skeptical consumers.
Yeah.
But he also sees this increasing pressure on them to adapt to these changing consumer preferences.
Right.
This acquisition could be a sign they're taking those changes seriously.
So he's saying that PepsiCo is recognizing that the future of food is sustainability, and they're making moves to position themselves accordingly.
Yes, and Brennan sees this as a potential win-win. If PepsiCo can integrate Siete into its portfolio and stay true to the brand's values,
Right.
they can tap into this growing market of health-conscious consumers.
Right.
And if they can use their size and influence to push for more sustainable practices throughout the whole food industry,
Yeah.
that could have a significant positive impact on the environment and on communities around the world.
But it's not going to be easy.
No.
They're going to face scrutiny from consumers who are wary of big corporations co-opting this health food movement.
Absolutely. There's a lot of distrust out there, and it's understandable.
Yeah.
Consumers have been burned before by companies that don't keep their promises.
Right.
PepsiCo is going to have to work hard to prove that they're sincere about their commitment to Siete's values.
Yeah.
And that they're not just using this to greenwash their image.
So what does Brennan recommend that PepsiCo do to build trust with consumers and show that they're committed to authenticity?
He stresses open communication and engagement with those consumers. He believes that PepsiCo needs to be transparent about their plans for Siete and actively get feedback from consumers about their concerns and expectations.
Okay.
They need to show they're listening and that they're willing to adapt.
So instead of just telling everyone what they're going to do, they need to listen to what consumers are saying and take a more collaborative approach.
Exactly. Brennan argues that PepsiCo needs to move away from that traditional corporate playbook and engage with consumers, food activists, sustainability experts to make sure they're meeting the highest standards of ethical and sustainable practice.
Right.
This could mean creating advisory boards, holding town hall meetings, participating in online conversations, all about sustainability and ethical sourcing.
That's a big change from how big corporations have traditionally operated. It would require a real shift in mindset.
It would. But Brennan believes this type of transparency and collaboration is essential for any company that wants to succeed today. Consumers are more informed and more discerning than ever before, and they're demanding more from the brands they support.
They're not just buying products, they're investing in values.
Exactly.
So it sounds like PepsiCo is facing a real test here. They have the potential to make a positive impact on the food industry, but they're going to have to prove that they're willing to change how they operate and be more transparent and sustainable.
For sure, it's a high-stakes game.
It is. But if they play their cards right, this acquisition could be a game changer, not just for PepsiCo, but for the whole food industry.
Absolutely.
It could signal this shift toward a more conscious form of capitalism, where profit and purpose aren't seen as separate things.
I hope so.
This has been a really interesting discussion about the challenges and opportunities facing PepsiCo as they try to navigate this new world of health-conscious consumers.
Yeah.
It's clear they have a lot to prove, but it's also exciting to think about the positive changes they could inspire if they're willing to embrace a new way of doing business.
And let's not forget about the role consumers play in all this.
Right.
We have the power to hold these companies accountable and demand that they meet our expectations for transparency, sustainability, and ethical practices.
That's a great point. We're not just watching this happen. We have a voice, and we can use it to shape the future of the food industry. Each purchase we make is a vote.
Absolutely. Our choices matter. And by supporting brands that align with our values, we can send a message to these corporations that they need to prioritize people and the planet over profit.
So as we wrap up our deep dive into PepsiCo and their acquisition of Siete Family Foods, we've uncovered a lot, haven't we?
We have. It's a deal with a lot of potential to really shake things up.
It really does, and it raises so many questions about, where food is headed and the role of these big corporations in making a positive impact. Will PepsiCo rise to the challenge?
Right. Will they really embrace this more sustainable and ethical approach?
Yeah, can they integrate a brand like Siete and stay true to its values?
How many questions?
I know, and to help us navigate all this, we've had Brennan's expertise guiding us.
He's been so helpful.
Remember, he's been a vegan for 17 years. He's deeply involved in this world of plant-based and ethical brands.
And he doesn't even consume Pepsi products.
Exactly. This acquisition isn't just a business deal for him. It really impacts how he views the entire landscape of, conscious consumerism.
Absolutely. And that's why I think his perspective is so valuable.
Yeah.
He's not just watching this happen, he's a participant, a champion for these brands that are trying to do things differently.
And he keeps emphasizing his authenticity.
Yes.
PepsiCo can't just buy Siete and expect to inherit all that trust and loyalty that they've built.
Right. It takes more than just changing the label on a bag of chips.
Exactly. And that brings us back to one of Brennan's most powerful statements he said in this market. It's not just about having a product on the shelf.
Right.
It's about creating a community around purpose, not just profit.
Powerful statement.
What do you think he means by that?
Well, I think he's pointing out that consumers these days, especially those who are drawn to brands like Siete, they're looking for more than just a product.
Right, they're looking for brands that align with their values.
Exactly. They want brands that are making a positive impact on the world. They want to be part of something bigger.
So PepsiCo needs to tap into that desire for connection and purpose if they want to succeed with Siete.
I think so.
But how do they actually do that? How do they create that sense of community
Mm-hmm.
and show that they're truly committed to Siete's values?
Transparency, that's key.
Okay.
PepsiCo needs to be open and honest about everything their plans for Siete, their sourcing practices, their environmental impact, their commitment to ethical labor standards.
Yeah, they've got to engage in real dialogue with consumers.
Right. Address their concerns, be willing to adapt.
It's a lot, isn't it?
It is. There's definitely a lot of skepticism out there. Consumers have been let down before,
Yeah.
Companies make promises they don't keep. So PepsiCo, they're going to have to work hard to prove that they're sincere.
Actions speak louder than words.
Exactly.
So this deep dive, it's been quite a journey. We've explored the strategic implications of this acquisition, the challenges of authenticity, and trust building the role of sustainability.
Right.
We've seen the potential for good, but also the skepticism that comes with a company like PepsiCo trying to change its image.
It's a complex situation for sure.
And ultimately the question remains, will PepsiCo rise to the occasion? Will they become a force for good in the food industry?
We'll have to wait and see. But one thing is for sure, the world is watching.
They are, and we've learned so much from Brennan's insights today.
He's been great.
His perspective coming from someone who's been in this space for so long, it's invaluable.
Really, he's given us a lot to think about, not just about this acquisition, but also about the bigger changes happening in how consumers think.
Right. People are demanding more, and companies need to listen.
They do.
So as we wrap up this Different World deep dive, we're left with this question for you. What kind of future do we want? A world where corporations prioritize profit, or a world where they operate with integrity and a real commitment to making a positive impact?
That's the question, isn't it?
It is. The choice is ours.
Right.
Every purchase we make, every brand we support, it's a vote for the kind of future we want to see.
So true.
Choose wisely. And if you're interested in all this and you want to learn more,
Yeah.
be sure to follow Brennan on social media at DSPFRNTWRLD.
He's a great follow.
He's always sharing great content and supporting brands that are trying to make a difference. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the world of Siete and PepsiCo. Until next time.